Good
Good
morning,
morning.
everyone, and welcome back to another panel discussion here, where we'll be talking about building smart cities of future, challenges and opportunities. So, the panel will be moderated by Mr. Amit Singh, who is the director with PwC, and then we have got Samir Unhale sir. He is the Joint Commissioner Director with the Directorate of Municipal Administration, Government of Maharashtra. He was also the CEO. Earlier, he was the CEO of Thane Smart City. Then we have got Shri Sunil Kumarji, who is the CEO with Bhagalpur Smart City Limited. Then we have got Mr. Navin Roy. He is the Additional Chief Town Planner cum Nodal Officer, Namche Smart City Limited, Urban Development Department, Government of Sikkim. Then we have got Akash Bhardwaj, who is with Globus Infocom, and Mr. Musharraf Ali Faruqi and Yogesh Khakre. They'll be joining in a while. So I think so, Amit, over to you, and you can take it from here.
Okay, shall I
Thanks,
start?
Fahim. Thanks, Fahim. So, first of all, I would like to welcome all our panelists. I'm pretty sure the topic is something which is quite contextual and relevant for us from both the perspective, the kind of unprecedented times that our country is going through. Not only our country, but the entire world is going through. I think the entire population has been impacted by this pandemic, COVID-19, and it the smartness of the cities or the smartness of the infrastructure plays a big role in multiplying our force and combating this pandemic. And that is where I think both Samir sir and Sunil sir have played quite a crucial role in their respective positions. So we will actually benefit from their experience. We will definitely dwell deep into that aspect as well. Apart from that, the way we have structured this discussion would be that first of all we start with a presentation from Akash, followed by a 5 minute initial, I would say, discussion, or I would say thoughts from each of our panelists, followed by a free flow discussion, and then we'll open up to the questions from our audiences. So, with your permission, sir, can we begin, Samir sir? Samir sir, I guess you are on mute. You can begin. I saw that. I saw your hand. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, sir. So, Akash, over to you for your presentation.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. It's a Saturday morning. So, I'll begin with the presentation. I think it's visible to all. So, my name is Akash. I'm from Globus Infocom. So, first off, I'd like to start with a question. Like the first question is, what is a smart city? The answer is, there is no universally accepted definition of a smart city. It means different things to different people, but there are few integral components that are required to build not only a smart but a sustainable as well as a safe city. And these components are education, healthcare, security, governance, etc. So I'd like to touch upon few elements that I mentioned, like the education technology, health, and security. So before beginning, I'd like just to introduce my company. So Globus Infocom. Globus Infocom is a Make in India brand that deals into four verticals: education technology, collaborative conferencing and professional displays, security and surveillance, and healthcare and wellness. Globus has been working relentlessly towards enabling technology in the Tier 2 and Tier 3 and the rural areas by developing comprehensive and innovative solutions in these fields. I'd like to show you a brief company video.
Just
So
a
I'll start with the company video.
second, Akash.
Yes.
Akash. Can you put this on a presentation
Okay.
mode? It's just a PPT mode.
Sure,
Can you
sure.
put it on that?
I'll just start with the video.
Volume, voice. You have to select the voice. Akash, we can hear the voice.
The voice is not audible?
Yeah. Akash, you can restart, and when you start, then there's an option you need to click on that voice thing, and we'll start.
Okay.
Welcome,
Now it's
Yogesh
audible.
ji.
Hi, good morning.
Technology not only builds a country, but it touches lives on so many levels. Technology builds lives. Technology saves lives. Technology transforms lives. At Globus Infocom, we believe in constant innovation and improvisation in technology to make it more advanced, accessible, and sustainable.
Globus Infocom Limited is a leading Make in India brand, designing and developing technology solutions in different verticals. Being a very strong name in education technology industry for the past 2 decades, we have also been providing solutions in 3 more verticals, which are collaborative conferencing and professional displays, security and surveillance, and healthcare and wellness.
Our wide products basket ranges from smart classroom solution to highly advanced digital language labs and virtual classroom solutions. Our aim is to not only provide academic education, but also making education accessible to every part and develop languages as skill. We have also brought in innovation and advancement in collaborative conferencing and professional display industry, offering a wide range of displays with full HD 4K technology, avant-garde aesthetics, and modern tools. Tailor-made communication and conferencing solutions deliver highly productive and meaningful communication experience. Our wide portfolio in security and surveillances offer diverse range of security cameras with high-quality images requiring minimum bandwidth and storage. Advanced technology and innovative features like Zoom, night vision, and smart video analytics have enabled these products to cater to the ever-changing, unique requirements of different clients and organizations. In this post-COVID world, our newest vertical of healthcare and wellness promises quality technology solutions, which are designed to effectively tackle the spread of any outbreak by effectively working on the strategy of early discovery, awareness, and sanitization to prevent diffusion, controlled access, and evidence management. Our transparent work ethics, cost-effective solutions, and relationships to peers have led to immense trust about our valued channel partners and customers, keeping us thriving and innovating to bring you the best of both worlds. There is our highly qualified and skilled team of specialists working together, inventing and innovating every day to set Globus Infocom apart. We are the pioneers of tomorrow. We are Globus.
So the first component I would like to talk about is the smart education. So when we talk about the smart cities, smart city leads, the objective of the smart cities is to build a smarter India. And the smarter India is the younger India. And for the younger India, education is the key fundamental that we need to focus upon. And to build the smarter cities, we need to smart schools as well as smart classes. By developing smart classroom solutions in the smart schools will enable the students to connect, create, and collaborate with the teachers. We have deployed the smart classroom solutions in the remotest area of Haryana in a project called Arohi School, where the results shown that the attendance have improved. Along with this, the teacher and the student collaboration have also considerably improved. But this should not also be limited to the classroom learning. We need to also focus on the other aspect of the learning. The goal of the education, the goal of the quality education is to penetrate through the every strata of the society. And for this, we need to go for the accessible smart education in the form of virtual or online learning platform. Now, as it said that India goes online during lockdown, there has been a substantial usage of the internet during the lockdown period, and there is one of like in one of the report that says that India has one of the cheap data packs. So we can use this as a leverage, and we can transform the education using these online learning platforms. These are cost effective, there are no geographical boundaries, and not only this, it can also allow stakeholder, teachers, and students to go for the flexible learning. Another thing that we should also focus on in the soft skill. We are focusing on the hard skill, but communication, like or a language, proficiency over a language that we also need to focus on. For this, we have developed a solution called Language Lab. So this basically deals in three languages: English, Hindi, and Sanskrit. So it includes a lot of things like gamification of the language material, jaw movement exercises, and these are the student-centric learners so that they can attain proficiency over the languages. We have had the privilege to work with the UP Police. We have deployed a virtual classroom solution at their 43 training centers that has made their training accessible and very easy for the police personnel. Along with this, Goa is the first state to connect 4 of their colleges through virtual as well as the smart classroom solutions. And we have also had the privilege working with the Haryana government of enabling ICT-enabled smart classrooms in some of the remotest and the rural areas of Haryana. Now, the point here is that these things will enable the student, and these are the student-centric, these will focus on the student-centric outcomes. So as I said, smart classroom, digital board, DTS, and tablet-based learning are the student-centric, so they'll get the personalized learning. And along with this, we have also developed a software in which student can do the virtual experiment. So what we have done, instead of the real labs, we have replicated those labs into the virtual experiment that will save the time and the efforts of the teacher of calling all the students, sending them to the doing experiments in physics, chemistry, and math. Another thing I touch upon is on the collaborative conferencing and professional display. When looking at the digital transformation, it is important for display technology and digital signage that should be the big part of the transformation. Display technology has been proved again and again and in a very powerful way to spur collaboration and deliver innovative customer experiences. So how we can do this? We can do this by deploying a lot of signage solution in the smart cities so that we can create awareness so that city administration, if they wish to, communicate any message about any scheme, so they can do that. Other than this is very user friendly and cost effective. Unlike the traditional display, the city administration can change the content and that can be done remotely all across the city. Other than this, there is video conferencing solution that I'd like to focus upon. Just to give you a brief example, in this COVID times, virtual courts were open. How about if we set up VC setups in every district so that to reduce the redundancy in the courtrooms and the petty offense like traffic challans and all these things can be done through the VC setups, as you can see here. So it will not only focus on reducing the case pendency that are going on the courts, but it also provide the ease and convenient to all the customers or to all the citizens so that they can participate in the virtual court, not really going to the court, but they can be part of the hearing through the virtual classroom setups or the video conferencing setups. Another is the security and surveillance that I'd like to touch upon. So imagine a smart city where the city administration can focus on the crowd density, monitor the city, and monitor the loitering from the high-rising housing. Can loitering if someone is smoking from in the prohibited zone, and they can also keep track on the cleanness of that particular area. So these things can be done by enabling AI and IoT into the cameras. Other thing is the mobile surveillance, so that you can keep the track of the school buses. You can keep the track. You can monitor what's going inside the bus, what's going inside the ambulances. Other is the body-worn cameras that can be deployed for the police person, so that they can wear it along and they can make the process very easy. Now, the main thing I'd like to focus upon the command and control centers. So command and control centers serve as the information hubs and a focal point for all key decisions in organizations like traffic control room, police stations, security organizations, paramilitary forces, etc. And in India, a lot of integrated command and control setups have been set up in the smart under this smart the mission. So it needs to be done as to evaluate if the investments made do harvest the educate profits for the cities as well as the citizens of that particular city. So this could be much of a beneficial thing that if we go and if we focus on the security and surveillance part, enabling the technologies like AI and IoT. Now, other point I'd like to add is the healthcare and wellness. So during this recent time, as we have seen, we have introduced this vertical to contribute as a corporate, so as a corporate citizen, socially corporate citizen, we have introduced this vertical to contribute our best for the nation to fight against this pandemic. And we have divided into 4 ways. First is the early detection, where you can detect the body temperature, contactless air thermometer. Second part is the awareness and sanitization, where one can use the automatic hand sanitizer, disinfectant using fogger. Third is the consensus using technology. It can AI face recognition, temperature screening that can be done. I'll just give you a simple analogy. The pandemic in the 1918 pandemic, that was a Spanish flu. There was a lot of casualties. In 1957, there were also Asian flu. There were a lot of casualties. In 2020, this corona pandemic, we have fortunately, with the help of the technology, we're able to contain the number of casualties. And now people are conscious and people are aware about their health hygiene. So why not, if we go along and we set up this preventive healthcare measures in every city to prevent any future outbreak? So these are the solutions. So we have enabled AI. Yes.
Akash, we need to conclude because we need to go to the panelists, please now. So if you can
Okay.
conclude. Thank
Sure.
you.
Sure. Thank you. So this is all about the Globus and its offerings. By concluding why Globus, and we embrace the new technology to encourage our citizens that will build and that will lead to an empowered nation. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Akash, for your presentation on the capabilities of your organization. Now we will move on to our panelists. And
Sure.
to begin with, we'll start with Samir sir. So Samir sir, specifically, first of all, it's an open discussion where we would like to understand from you. But before that, let me set a context related to the overall topic that we are going to talk about. So I would just like to quote an incident that happened when the entire world was actually facing the Great Depression, somewhere around 1933. And that is where the noted economist John Keynes, he actually wrote a letter to the US President, Franklin Roosevelt. And he said that if the world wants to come out of this depression, then it is very important that a scheme called New Deal needs to be implemented. And this New Deal was nothing but about investment into infrastructure, which can become a silver bullet to pull the world out of the depression. And if I try to draw an analogy from that times to current times, I see situations are quite similar in the nature. And if I correlate this with the Indian Economic Survey that happened somewhere in 2017 2018, it very clearly said that India requires an investment of almost $4.5 trillion into infrastructure, and this investment needs to be made by 2040, and majority of this investment will actually happen in urban India. That means there are huge set of opportunities that open up for the entire country. And this is also because 40% of our population currently actually resides in city, which is around 600 million. So if we match up to this scale, then we are required to add a Chicago equivalent into our country each year, so that by 70%, by 2030, 70% of India's population would be living into this urban space. And that is where I see the smart infrastructure becomes a very huge opportunity. While this becomes a huge opportunity, of course there are challenges, and that is where we have seasoned people from our cities and the municipal administration and the urban administration who are part of our panel today, who will talk about the kind of challenges and how they are trying to mitigate those challenges through the framework that is available under various schemes that have been launched either by government of India or they have been launched by the state government. And in that framework, how they are actually leveraging this opportunity that has been opened up, and how our cities are gearing up to the kind of development that is required for us to reduce the pressure on existing infrastructure which is actually crumbling, and how new assets are being created by the cities to cater to the population that is actually coming and coming into our cities on daily basis. So over to you, Samir sir, to begin with for your opening comments.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity of interaction. I think the presentation and your opening remarks have definitely set up a good tone as to how the discussion move ahead. First, we'll have to, at a very important point you made, was that the India is traditionally seen to be a country of villages, and there is an element of romanticism which is still continuing in this till this date. Of course, it is there, but you have to realize that the cities of India, if you put together, is the third largest country in the world. In a sense that if you add up all the population of Indian cities, it becomes more than United States, which is the third largest country. So even in international scale, whatever Indian urban system does is going to be very crucial for the challenges. The topic of today's discussion being the future of smart cities, I would just like to put a international context to what would could be the possible direction into which the urbanization trends around the globe might evolve. We know that in 2015 we had a Habitat 3 conference at Quito, and the four keywords which come out of that conference in the new urban agenda, as well as the other international understandings that we are having, it talks of sustainability, it talks of resilience, it talks of safe cities, it talks of smart cities. So I think these will be the key four words which would give a direction to the future on how cities would be evolving. I believe that the what exactly a smart city would be. I think every city, I think cities have been essentially smart use of technologies. You cannot think of a city which doesn't use technology. So the interaction and correlationship of a city and technology is very strong. It, on the contrary, it is technology which makes something into city. If you go back even to the history, maybe the Harappan civilizations and the second urbanizations in 500 BC, we see a maximum use of technology. So technology and cities are like Siamese twin. They will continue and exist together. I think important point for the direction of cities. Technology, of course, will be there. Investment is inevitable. We'll ought to have investment. The traditional grant and tax financing of urban infrastructure and services, and its delivery only through government agencies or municipal bodies, will have to see some change, because I think the complexities of Indian cities are growing very high, and it will, in my view, difficult for a single body, it might be municipality or anyone, to deliver the entire complexity and tackle the entire complexity of Indian cities. It calls for greater collaboration. It calls for newer models of private sector participation. It calls for new financing models. It calls for reaching out and garnering all possible financial models that we have. It might be using of municipal bonds. It is that dipping up into the stock market. I think smart city can think of coming up with an IPO with its shares given to the common public. So I think I look is for innovation now. So the what would define the next decade, so to say, for Indian cities is going to be climate footprint containing that. It is going to be sustainability. It's going to be a innovative use of technology. It will be requiring greater citizen engagement. It will require, and most importantly, I think it is inclusion. We cannot forget the urban poor. There, it is urban poor which are the city makers. It is they who actually create the foundation of any city, and therefore we have to look for a very positive way and so humane and compassionate cities with ecological sensitivity and greater international collaboration and cooperation. I think would be some of the key words, I think, for which the Indian cities and future smart cities should really strive for. So I think it was my first brief interaction, Amit. So I hand it over back to you.
Thank you, sir. I think there were a couple of important points which you actually pointed out, and I think I think that is for other panelists to decide. But I think there were three key takeaways that you spoke about, and those were quite relevant. As you pointed out, technology cannot be segregated with city. Technology is an inherent part of the city, whether we are talking about from the Harappan and the Indus Valley civilization to the current context. And very clearly, interaction and correlation of the city with the technology is something which brings in about how city becomes resilient, how city becomes sustainable, and how city is safe for its dwellers. And that is where this was one important point. The important point which you talked about was very clearly about the new models of financing and cooperation. The financing is something which is where we cannot just rely upon the aids and the grants today. It is cities need to think about innovative ways in which they want to finance their operations. And that is where this topic about smart city altogether talking about their own IPO. And that actually would put a backward pressure on them to become more efficient. Operational efficiency is something which is required so that they attract investors. And that is where I think so the entire corporate kind of an operation of an smart city so that they can attract investment is something which is a key, and that is something which can be one of the drivers for cities to develop in future. And so these were the couple of points I think which were very important and very contextual. And I think our audience would definitely benefit from these pointers. Now, moving on to our second panelist, I would request uh, over here, our panelist over here. Just give me a moment. Yeah, I'm just opening up the panel list over here. I would like to move on to our Sunil sir, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Bhagalpur Smart City. So, Sunil sir, over to you for your opening comments.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Amit. You have put the details, and I think Sameer ji has already explained what exactly the future of smart cities would be and what exactly we need to look into. I will just start that I will say the concept of a smart city is one of the good initiatives the government has taken, and the benefits of that we have seen in this pandemic period.
Sunil sir, I think there is an audio problem. Sunil sir, I
Uh,
think there is an audio problem.
okay. Am I
Now
audible
you can
now?
start again. Now you're audible. Now you're audible.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Thank you, Amit, for giving me this opportunity. And Sameer ji has already put the future of a smart city and what exactly how we should look into it and how we should progress. The fact is that India is going to be the 40% of population of India is living in urban area. And as Sameer ji has rightly said, that this is a time when we have to reinvent, we have to rethink that how we are going to serve better urban India. The fact is, we can't ignore technology in whatever sphere we are. And similarly, in a smart city, also in urban population, also we can't ignore the technology. Technology is a part of life today in global world. So as far as making a smart city is also concerned, we have to integrate technology with each and every action what we take, what each and every activity what we do. Then only we will prepare our city. Then only I will prepare the urban population for the safer place they can stay and they can live. So technology is a part of that. The second important is I am 100% in agreement with Sameer ji. Innovation part, the government, the fund from government is coming and we are making the things, that is one part, but we have to relook into it because the requirement will be huge. So there should be a thought process, there should be a step where we have to rethink the participation of public private sectors, the participation of PP model, the participation of restructuring the whole offering of the smart city. Then only we will be able to dream the what exactly we are dreaming. Somebody has rightly said that we are making the city for the people. So we need to understand what exactly the requirement of that city is and innovate in our own sphere. Here I will stress on one point. We need not to copy of any city. Every city is different in their own domain, and vast country, the requirement of all the city is different. Whatever is the requirement of Thane, whatever is the requirement of Pune, whatever is the requirement of Chennai, that may not be the exactly the same requirement at Bhagalpur. The Bhagalpur requirement is different. So some of the concept, the technology concept, okay, that is fine. That we know that as far as integrated control and command center is concerned, this is required by each and every city because we need to provide a safe and safe environment to the citizen. At the same time, we have to earn money from the property taxes and all. So control and command system is the requirement of all the city. But at the same time, whatever project we have to take in that city, that needs lot of involvement of city advisory committee. And we should not forget that we are making the city for the people. The involvement of public representative is very important, and we have to innovate those solutions. We have to brainstorm those solutions, and we have to work in that way. The third important, as the concept of government was that we have to make SPV for this implementation. I will say that okay, the concept is government is very fine, but still concept of SPV has not come in force in all the cities. Samirji was the CEO of Thane somewhere else. Now new person will come. Whatever he has thought has gone somewhere else. So I will say that SPV, a strong construction of SPV, the management should be there who can think day and night that what type of city we want to build, and they should stay there for some time. So taking person from outside, from the corporate, is very important from the public sector, because being IS he has to move, being government servant he has to move. So making the SPV is need of hour, I will say, and then only whatever plan we are having for the city, that plan is possible. Otherwise, it is not possible. I'm very frank here to give my viewpoint here. So that is very possible. That is very urgent requirement that need to be implemented. SPV implementation is very important. The third important point is that we have to, whatever solution we are making, that should be sustainable. So even if we are making some auditorium, even we are making some hospitals, even we are making some smart road, so we need to think that how it will sustain, rather than going for a going for a tender, and we should award that tender, and we should make the infrastructure. Making infrastructure is not our job. Our job is to make the infrastructure and ensure that that infrastructure should sustain, that should work together, that infrastructure should be stable, there should be a working model for that. So before developing any infrastructure, that working model is required, and that thought process will come again if SPV will think in that direction. So again, I will say that working infrastructure, developing infrastructure is one, but developing infrastructure in a sustainable way is very important. The third, I will say that every smart city is having their own issues, their own infrastructure, their own problems. So they have to solve. Even if there are 40% population are staying in urban area, we are having 60% population who is staying in rural areas, in agricultural base and all. So we have to link these two solutions. So linking the rural economy with a smart city is very important. If I will say the case of Bihar, all the smart city, we are having the migrant workers who have come from all across the country. We have to give employment to them. But how we will give that? Even if the smart city will develop the infrastructure, if the smart city will develop the solution where they can integrate the rural economy with the city economy, then only that is possible. So if the person, migrant workers have come, those in rural areas which is in and around the smart city, we have to think that 25 to 40% of all the foods item is basically we are not able to save due to the due to our poor infrastructure. So why not we develop that type of infrastructure? That is also part of infrastructure need to be developed in a smart city. So I will say that every city is different. We should not replicate, we should not copy the solution of Pune city or the solution of Thane city or solution of Chennai city at Bhagalpur. We have to find out what issue we are facing, and we have to do in that way. I will say one example, I mean, though it is not much relevant here, but I will take this opportunity to do it here. Whatever IT infrastructure was doing at different part of the country during this pandemic, that was one part. But when we at Bhagalpur was thinking this pandemic situation, then our focus was to give that confidence and more all the migrants who is coming from different part of the country. So what we have done, we have gone to the basic. We have developed a Kahani series that is called Lockdown Ke Panne. And in that Kahani series, we have started, telling speech where we have given the message that what exactly we have to do that, for what exactly the migrants have to do when they are coming from different part of the country. I will take the just glimpses of one story when we were giving the message that if two persons from the same from the same city of Bhagalpur, who is coming from Pune and who is coming from Gujarat, one person who is responsible, who understand that during this period also we should behave as a responsible citizen, he has gone and made to the administrator, and he has stayed 14 days in quarantine center. The another person, though intention was good, but in curiosity or in emotion, they have gone directly to their parents, to their villages, to their homes. What exactly they have done? They have not behaved as a responsible citizen. So we were giving the messages to them, and that was the required for that point of time in that smart city. So we have developed a mechanism where we can address those migrants, and we can say that smart city we have done that role, that responsibility. So what exactly I want to say here, that some of the solutions are required that is similar in each and every smart city, like IT solution, technology based solution, but some of the solution is city specific. We need to differentiate, we need to innovate, we need to think, we have to find out, we have to brainstorm, we have to involve the local people, and we have to find solutions. We have to find out those requirements, those issues, and we have to solve those issues to make the city a smart in real sense, in real way. So that is my say, Amit, right now, and I think over to you, Amit.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks. I think that few of the important takeaways from your initial remarks. I think one would be that each and every city is unique, and from that perspective, I think while yes, there are certain uh, set of applications or certain set of solutions which have a global appeal can be thought of the city. However, I think one important aspect with respect to the planning that you talk about was if I were to set in a context, I would say it would be a local. While we think global, we need to apply locally. So the solutions or the interventions, everything that we are talking about need to be learned and copied or maybe taken or inspired from the global scenario. When I say global scenario, even Indian cities, but then they need to be localized. They need to be think from local perspective. And yes, another important point which you raised was that at the end of the day, we are doing these interventions for the citizens. So it is very important that citizens become the important part of the entire value chain in terms of defining what needs to be done for the city. So from that context, is absolutely correct. I think we will move to our next panelist, Mr. Rai from Sikkim, and he is the nodal officer for Namchi Smart City. So over to you, Mr. Rai. I think Naveen Rai, if you can open up with your comments about the topic that is related to the overall future of smart cities, the kind of opportunities and the challenges that are there, and specifically the uniqueness of cities that you are currently working in. How does it apply to your set of cities? Over to you, Naveen. Naveen, you're on mute, please. Please unmute yourself.
Am I audible now? Am I audible?
You are absolutely audible, Naveen. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Amit. And it's indeed my privilege to be here in this, panelist, and getting this opportunity to put forth my insights about this topic, smart cities, building smart cities for the future, and the challenges and the opportunity. So here, I'll be putting forth my very generic opinion about the smart cities and overall, urban planning scenarios. Very, very, briefly touch upon everything. And this is because this is out of my experiences having attached with these smart cities missions and urban planning for quite some time. It's more than a decade. Smart cities is since 2015. So coming back to the point, see here, what we see is here the smart word in this entire context of smart cities mission is basically mainly going around with the robust ICT infrastructure in and around the cities actually. So, so given the Indian context, the cities are basically, it is very generic. We are plagued with the huge data gaps, fragmented city management and governance entities. There are many entities working in the same space. The challenges insurmountable, complemented by the insular policymakers and the citizen. That's quite, what you call that. This is quite very generic for the entire Indian context as well as the global South. In that matter, I'd say. But having said that, at this juncture of the gain momentum in the smart city mission in India as well as the global scenario, because it has become a trend, and some of the countries are doing very very well because they were much more ahead than most of us. Uh, Basically, it's a huge opportunity for professionals and policymakers who are very keen to create a use case, successful use case, and technological and IT solutions and service provider to establish a use case that city requires intelligence. Yes, but it's opportunity for us to establish that city requires intelligence. It requires self improvisation. It requires updations, and most importantly, it has to be resilient at the end of the day. So basic principle is same. Even though it may not be the same tailor-made solution for the entire uh, country context, but cities should be able to provide basic principle is same. Like it should be taking care of the well-being of the uh, citizens whatsoever. I should be able to provide the uh, it should implement to the citizens. It should be able to provide a robust physical infrastructure, and it should at the same time in the global context it should be able to the policy should be able to take care of the what you call meeting of all those UN sustainable goal or new urban agenda and other commitment which is there right now in order to mitigate the climate change and other issues. Nonetheless, still the fragile and fragmented institutional framework is still challenging to the urban context in Indian scenario, because the point is like here the issue is about the tenure of security of the one of the bureaucrats who manages the city as an executive, and even in that context, there are multi-sectoral political economic environment in the city that is really challenging for us, because nobody can think about what you call what mayor of Curitiba has done. I mean, he started as a chief town planner and end up becoming governor, and between he was a mayor. So that's how you take forward your plan to the logical end. But it may not be possible for the Indian context, but that is still challenging. Otherwise, because we only look most of the policymakers who are much more powerful in this entire chain of event, they only look for they have a horizon of 5 years. That's a fact. So, and again, on the hindsight, when we think about the policymakers and technocrats and bureaucrats like us, then we also have a challenges because we may not know how long we'll be there in the system, so that we can really think about the planning and implementing the projects. On the other hand, it is a great opportunity for cities like Northeast, like Sikkim, with a lesser population. Again, the city in the lesser developed states like UP, Bihar, where the funding was already a challenge. So we need to capitalize on the fund and balance the investment in towards the robust physical and ICT infrastructure. Because at the same time we have a commitment towards the smart city missions. At the same time we have a challenges regarding existing the old and what do you call it? There's huge physical infrastructure gap in the city, be it sewage treatment plant, the roads, well connected pedestrian walkways. So I believe that once we succeed in this, perhaps we'll be able to secure buy-in from both citizens and the policymakers. So they will be more forthcoming, they'll be more cooperating, because so far we are already plagued by the trust deficit. That is the fact. Because the moment we talk about anything very, very, very innovative and very, very futuristic, then they would say, okay, fine, this was already there, but it has not has happened before you also. Whoever was there, they have committed the same thing. It has not been delivered. So this is a very typical scenario. Nobody can deny that. And nonetheless, building a smart city is the future. Is only in only way forward to ensure the equity, to mitigate the climate change, reduce poverty, and meet the target set out by the Sustainable Development Goal. And in the larger context, like how you make a city very efficient, self-sustainable. Uh, our previous preceding the speakers talk about. I mean, it's IPO and financial self-financing model and PPP. That is very very innovative, and is very successful in other parts of the world, and even within the Indian context. Maharashtra is basically forefront in all this aspect. But again, because they were the one, what do you call, this Maharashtra was the one to bring out the Town Planning Act and Architects Act, and it's within the India also. There are so much of what you call diverse and different kind of use case successful, and they themselves have a robust revenue base, tax base. They can self finance. But again, on the other side, especially places like cities in the northeast, we are already plagued by the traditional institution, and that is very very challenging for us, basically to secure buying, even implementation of the what is property tax, which constitute around 30 to 35% among the overall revenue of the municipalities. But here, to run a municipality itself is a challenge. Likewise, even in other parts of the country, that itself is a challenging because of the interventions or different factors. So having said that, I believe that what you call this definitely will be able to showcase and bring out some kind of successful model and pilot projects under smart city mission. And perhaps after that, maybe people will be able to put their trust on us, as well as the investors, which is very very important in the entire ecosystems, and as well as the policy makers, where because ultimately they are the one to incur maximum benefit out of the works which we do as a bureaucrats, technocrats, and policy makers, and the technological service provider. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. I mean, I think that was quite candid, if I may say. Specifically talking about, so I think more from perspective. I think there are two important things that you pointed out. One was with respect to once the ball starts rolling, who is helping that ball rolling is something which is important, and that is where the continuity is something which is an important aspect to ensure that the vision which has been set at the beginning of the program is taken forward to the end of the things. So the starting point which I spoke about when Samir sir was talking about the entire uh, IPO kind of a thing. Now when we talk about IPO, that IPO is a manifestation of processes which have been defined as a standard, which are adhered and which are running independent of the person. Now that is something which, if we were to talk about a challenge and we were to talk about the continuity of the officers, I think it is very important that the SPV starts operating in a way that the processes are so strengthened and they are so well defined that they are independent of people, whether it is the PMC or whether it is the city officials or whether we are talking about the elected representatives, irrespective of them being changed. The processes are so well defined and the vision and the mission is so well ingrained in those processes that at the end of the day, the outcomes are very easy to achieve if those are adhered in a standard manner. So I think that can be corporatization of an SPV is something which is important for us to actually put them as the juggernauts of smart city implementation. So I think that was one important point. The second point which you spoke about was related to the entire funding and the capitalization, specifically from the cities that are there in the northeast and the cities in UP and Bihar. Of course, we have a lot of learning to be taken from cities which have from the states which have actually gone ahead and did some remarkable work in terms of capitalization of their land asset, whether it is the cities in Madhya Pradesh, whether these were the cities in Maharashtra, or they were cities in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. These are few of the states which have actually shown us how the entire capitalization on the land assets can happen, and then municipal corporations can actually benefit. So yes, that's an important point. I think we when we are talking about addressing the challenges, financing or the funding of the projects and the cities is something which is an important challenge, which needs to be addressed so that we can actually ride on this side of the opportunity that is actually emerging, where we are talking about almost uh, adding a Chicago each year, if we actually go in a sustained manner, and by 2030 we are talking about 60% of the population coming to our cities. Now moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Yogesh Khakre. He's the company secretary of Bhopal Smart City. Over to you, Yogesh, for your initial remarks.
Hi Amit, thank you so much, and my greetings to all the co-panelists from Bhopal Smart City. And I'm really privileged to hear words from Sunil ji and Naveen ji and Samir ji. And I would like to continue what Amit you have said, that people may come, people may go, but the company goes forever. So it is the thing, you have to create a system, because people may fail, but system never fails. So I would like to take you to a bit flashback on how the smart city mission has launched. What is the reason? Because in 2015 we are 1.2 billion population, and we are having 3,000 cities. And out of 3,000 cities, around 300 cities are having population of more than 1 lakh. But as you said that in next 2 3 years, we are 60% of traction is going to the tier 1 cities, and we are hardly, as on date, we are having 8 tier 1 cities only, and having around 30% of traction in these cities. So idea was to get back that traction into the other smart cities, to launch 100 smart cities across the country, so that we can lessen the burden on the tier 1 cities and we can utilize our resources. And that's how it was, the mission was planned, to create 100 smart cities and having a provision of 1,000 crores. But do you really think that 1,000 crore is sufficient to create a smart city? If you want to build 5 flyovers now, the amount will go into waste, or go into utilize in creating these flyovers. So the object was to converge and collaborate with the existing infrastructure, with the help of innovation, with the help of technology. You have to have a scalable model, and which provides the employment opportunity, so that we will get the traction out of the tier 1 cities and towards tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So this is how it was planned. So 1,000 crore is not the full, because in coming year we are completing 5 years. Those smart cities who are top 20 cities got selected in first phase. We are completing our 5 years. What's next? So definitely we have to go sustainable. And what is sustainable? You have to generate your own funds, or you have to keep some resources open for future generation. This is what sustainability means. So we have to generate our own resources, and how it will generate, I will cross you, Amit, because you are saying IPO, but I believe IPO is totally exit option. It is not continuing into the system, right? So IPO is totally exit. What you do in IPO, you will lose your shares. So beyond that, you can have a listing your bonds. What we have done, or what Indore and done, and other smart cities in Pune has done. The Nagar Nigam, the municipal corporation has launched. Like we have done 175 CRs of listing of bond. So simultaneously, other smart cities also treated at par with the ULBs. So we have the Association of Chartered Accountant, the company secretaries, we have sent a letter to SEBI that to consider SPVs as a part and parcel at par with the ULBs, so that they can also float their bonds in the market. Now, another option is you can go and list your NCDs, like non-convertible debentures. You can go and launch your preference shares, non-convertible preference shares, to any foreign entity. So you can trace the FDIs and FIIs, get the traction over from there, for infrastructure building, for ICT building, for IoT, for machine learning, and number of things. You can have to have a change in your procurement policies. So there must be some provision to procure from on the POC basis from the startups. Why we have always have a big companies on place to do small things? They are started proving their potential. It is very innovative technology, very disruptive technologies. So we can give the tender, or we can go and get them job on the basis of POC only, like a private firm. Because what is the mean of SPV? You have to move fast and break the things, as Mark Zuckerberg said. So we have to move fast. We have to act like a MNC company. So this is the key word is collaboration and convergence with the existing policies, with the existing provisions. Like we are having National Urban Transport Policy 2006. So in which cities would be encouraged to explore the possibility of innovative multimodal transport, having NMT in place by public bike sharing program, where people can rent a bicycle for use in specifically designed area. So the primary motive of this policy was to emphasize the importance of introducing a self-sustainable NMT model like PBS schemes in urban areas. In Bhopal, we have already done in 2016. The basic purpose was to underscore the advantage of using bicycles and to provide low cost, environment friendly, and convenient mobility options to the residents. So I'm really happy to say that Bhopal bike sharing system in the country is the first integrated and fully automated bicycle sharing system on PPP mode. So we have not done the capex and opex. We have just given the value gap funding, VGF funding, on this project, and we have, in the span of 3-4 years, we have recovered that funding on the revenue sharing model with that agency. So likewise, everywhere you need not have to put your cost. You have to have a PPP arrangement with the private players. Like after PBS, we are moving ahead with the UI floating of EBS, electric bike sharing. So what we are doing, we are converging with the existing private players, and we are giving them our space, utilize the space for doing capex, for having docking stations, for giving the extra infrastructure, and then we are giving them right of monetizing right for the advertisement rights to monetize the on the docking station, and they will generate the revenue and they will share the revenue. So instead putting cost into capex, we are getting the revenue sharing from them. So it is a win-win situation for both the private players and the authority. So this kind of initiatives we are thinking to move ahead, and we have recently launched electric vehicles in Bhopal. We have totally replaced the pool vehicles, diesel conventional pool vehicles with the electric vehicles. So for that we have not done any tender. What we have done, we have done a MOU with the EESL. It is a subsidiary of central government company NTPC and REC. So it is a convergence between central government and state government. So we have done MOU with the EESL and got a dry lease model, and in a hire purchase model we have bought that new vehicles, Tata Tigor. So these are something. Now we are moving ahead with the dockless cycling station and other multi-level parking, so many things with the help of technology. So like this is from my side.
Hey, thanks, Yogesh. I think there were a couple of important points, and definitely, if we were to talk about, so let me begin from where you started, and you started talking about the entire 1,000 crore
So
fund which
let
was
me add you
provided
one
to
thing.
each city.
Let me add you
So
one thing
very
that
clearly, that
government has
thousand.
never differentiated between the city like Bhopal having population of 25 lakhs and city like Pasighat having population of 25,000, or Imphal having population of around 1 lakh. So they are also getting 1,000 crore. We are also getting 1,000 crore. They are having 100% government land, and then they are still waiting for the consultants to do something for them. Why?
Okay. So I would definitely try to talk about that particular point as well. So when you are comparing a city like Namchi or a city like with a city like Bhopal, it is very important to keep things in perspective. The economic activity that is possible in Madhya Pradesh, in Bhopal, is nowhere in comparison to what can happen in Namchi. Therefore, Bhopal can multiply the money that they have got as investment much faster and much
Yeah.
rapidly compared to Namchi. Therefore, if there are certain advantages, there are certain disadvantages as well associated with it. So that we may get into the merits of that, but very importantly, when we talk about the 1,000 crore, the initial 1,000 crore that we are talking about, that 1,000 crore was never spoken about as a grant. That 1,000 crore was always talked as seed money, and that is where each and every SPE was supposed to act as a
It is part
startup
of
which
your
was.
capital. It is part
So
of
that
your
is where
capital.
so
Yes,
the
it's a seed
1,000 crore
capital.
that you, it is a seed capital that you got, and you need to act as a startup, and so you did not go for a round or a B round of funding, as a startup. Instead, you got that capital to use that 1,000 crore, and that from 1,000 crore as a seed capital, as a startup, you are going to start your operations, and then you need to earn your money. And that is where you need to go into innovative financing, good projects, a project which are going to be self-sustainable, projects which are not only going to get benefit to the citizens, they are also going to give certain kind of a revenue back to the SPV, so that SPV can manage it and sustain its operations, and then also earn capital out of it, and this capital can be reinvested into certain other projects. And that is where this entire concept was put to test. Of course, there are certain cities like Bhopal, there are certain cities like Thane. These are the cities which have actually shown the light of how this can be done. Definitely, it is an experiment where certain successes we have seen. Now, these successes are something which need to be replicated, and then they need to be scaled up on a large scale. And that is where I see the kind of input that are coming from this would actually be incorporated in the future policy, whether you call it smart city 2.0, whether you talk about the next wave of urban development. I think that will play a very important role. The lessons that we have learned from Bhopal, the lessons that we have learned from Chandigarh, the lessons that we have learned from Mumbai, the lessons that we have learned from Bengaluru, all these lessons together are actually going to play a crucial role. The way the money that is going to flow to the future of these cities. That is something which will be an important aspect. The other point which you talked about was related to innovation. Innovation not only from the technology and other perspective, but also from the procurement. As Kunal Kumar sir says, that we need to innovate procurement to procure innovation. So to procure innovation, we need to innovate our procurement cycle altogether. And that is where I see one of the methods which has actually not shown that kind of a success, but that can actually be put to test, can be the Swiss challenge method. Where yes, we can actually procure innovation in a way that yes, the technology is quite innovative. We can put forward for a POC kind of a thing, and then from there we can actually procure innovation. So cities like Bhopal and cities, forward-looking cities, need to experiment with this kind of procurement if they actually want to procure innovation. And that is where the entire, of course, you are the CEO of the B Nest as well. You know that there are certain startups there, and we need to help them. How can we actually get them onboarded if we actually want to procure innovation? So Swiss
So
challenge can be one of the
I'm today
methods.
today I'm in Indore and organizing a future of MP conclave in BNest. Indore reaching out to BNest reaching out to Indore. So I'm sitting
Okay,
in Sayaji and waiting for my panel discussion.
okay, great. This way, what happens? Of course, we need to experiment within the framework that is available to us, because at the end of the day, this is exchequer's money. We need to be accountable and we need to be responsible. Samir sir would agree with me that whatever we are doing today, 3 years down the line, of course, this will be up for public scrutiny. It is very important that whatever we are doing, we need to do it in a very responsible manner, so that we are accountable, and yet we are able to pave a way for future. So with this, I think, Fahim, if we have questions from the audience, maybe we would like to take questions from the audience. Fahim, over to you.
Thank you, Amit. I think so. It was a very well moderated session, and we had basically a great perspectives from be it Namchi or Bhopal or Maharashtra, and basically from Bhagalpur. So I'd like to thank you all. And if there is any question, I'll just see. No, I don't think so. There is any question. So, anyways, I would like to thank you all, and I would like to thank our partners, basically HP and Intel. They are our powered by partner. Then we have got Oracle as a cloud partner. Then we have got Western Digital as a storage partner. Avaya as a collaboration partner, and Globus as a technology partner. And plus, the event host partner is the Department of Electronics and IT, Government of Odisha, and the co-host partner is Muradabad Smart City Limited. And apart from this, we have got a very interactive exhibition area also in the in the platform, where lots of companies are showcasing various technologies, various case studies, various white papers, and related to the smart cities, to digital India, to healthcare, where you can go and download, you can have an interaction with our exhibitors. So it's a very interactive. So thank you, Amit. Thank you, everyone. And with this, I think so we can say a goodbye. And I think so our viewers had a very it's like interesting time, very productive time listening to various perspectives kept from across the country. And that's all I think so from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Fahim. Thanks, Samir sir, Sunil sir, Naveen, and Yogesh. Thanks for your time. Look forward to connect with you offline as well. Thank you.
Likewise.